Yeah, that one's getting it. There we go. This one's live. All right. See, I see some people are back now. He said back. I said back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we can wait a second here. We get a couple more people back in, and we'll watch the first film. But as we wait, I think where were we last? Andy, you were talking about doing some pulley. Us getting to do the pulley work for Link and stuff.
Yep, and we were talking about how it had been the first time that the actors had been in harnesses and doing wire work, and how common it is for actors the first time they get into harness and do wire work to just giggle. Doesn't matter who they are, they giggle. They all giggle.
Giggly.
Danny giggled.
A lot. Absolutely. And not realizing how tight this suit actually is.
That's the other.
That's the supposed to be between the legs. I'm just gonna leave it as that. Yeah. Yes.
That's the other piece. It actually the harness is tight enough that we have to be careful how long we keep people in the air, because the leg straps go right by the arteries, and so you can legitimately cut out blood flow to the legs to the point where it's dangerous.
Well, that is good to know. I'm glad we did not do that. When we're doing that.
That's my job. My job is to make sure that you can still feel your leg when you're done.
Yes.
All right. So yeah. So Link for Z Fest. That was 2016, right, Damian?
Yes, Z-Fest 7 in 2016.
Yep. And this one it was definitely an interesting one for the Z Fest. Let's see, got that posted there. And yeah, well, we came in I think 5th place that year, Damien. Do you remember all of them?
Yep, so yeah, we have 5th place, and I know that we won 3 total awards. We tied for one of them and won 2 other, and I believe we come to terms. We know we won Best VFX or tied for that one Best Fight Scene, and we think maybe it was Best Hero.
Okay.
Could be the 3rd one. Unfortunately, the website doesn't have it, and I don't have the
might have been sound design too. I feel like we got that.
Could have
one,
been that, yeah.
But I can maybe look later. But let's. We'll watch through it here, and then afterwards we can talk a little bit about breaking down some of the stunts that we were able to do in it, some of the visual effects, some of the music, and give you guys kind of a behind-the-scenes peek at the making of Link here. So we can switch on over, and we'll start it up here.
My dear princess, do you want to know why men like me rise to the top? It's not only because I'm strong, but because other men are weak. Men seek their own comfort and protection above all else. Like insects, they scurry back into the dark when a torch is lit. They are selfish creatures, rather to keep to themselves than face opposition. The folly of man is his short-sightedness. He sees the shadows as a safe haven, when in fact, they are his doom. Sons mimic their weak fathers, who mimic their weak fathers before them. I don't take away men's freedoms. They give them to me, willingly. All in exchange for the promise of living one more day in their cozy little prisons of their own design.
No. Not all men. And that is why you will never win.
Whoa! So that there was Link. Oh yeah, And yeah, so that one was probably our most ambitious visual effects video we've ever done, and longest fights and stunts and everything like that. Yeah, kind of go through a little bit what that all entailed to make. So let's see here. So Danny, when I remember I first approached you for making this, and I also talked with Dan Larson Fine to be able to do the fight scene for this. You were Link, and so Dan Larson Fine was Dark Link there. And we were able to meet a few times beforehand to kind of go through some choreography for the fight scene, and we got Bond was the one who did the choreography for that. He was he's a friend of Dan's, and that was one thing too. One of the hard things for this film was there's 3 Dans on set, as we're all trying to but yeah, we were able to do some kind of some test fights beforehand. So I got some of the behind the scenes footage of what that kind of looks like here. Danny, you want to talk a little bit about how you kind of went about with the prepping for the fights for this and everything?
Yeah, I would say between the rehearsal and going through and actually working with Bond on it, I'd never done any kind of intensive, I would say, like swordplay like this before. So this was all kind of new, and so because most of my background is more of like the action, it's going to be more hand-to-hand combat. So there's a little finesse that goes with it. So. And working closely with you, because I was not as big as a Zelda fan as you were, Dan. So it was taking a lot of what you really want to convey as Link and a different approach to Link with that, and more moody and sometimes I would say a little emo-ish to the extent when looking back and seeing that hair.
Yeah, you definitely
had
the emo hair going on for it. But
Absolutely. It totally did. And it was funny because going through the fight stuff and then realizing at some point we're gonna get into harness and do that on top of that. I was between that and the fight stuff, I was really excited for the harness work as well too. And working with Dan is he was a great stunt man and stuff too. Really fun to work with and everything too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when I was working out with Bond for putting this fight together. There was basically kind of like key moments in it that I wanted and needed to happen, kind of the beats of the fight. But then I was like, for the in between there, like I just wanted you to kind of fill it with what would actually be part of a real fight or a sword fight or whatever. Because I don't know too much about how those techniques and stuff work, but I was like, I just need these certain key points to happen, and then if you can fill in the spots there. And he did actually a really good job of kind of finding those things for that and putting it together. As you can see here with with Bond and Dan. I think this was at a gymnastics gym out that they used to work at, and we were kind of just walking through what the potential spots would be where they'd hit. But like the main parts that I had envisioned out was Dark Link like jumping onto your sword, because that's a thing that happens in the game, and I added the kicking you in the face part. But then from after that, the parts where Dark Link disappears as you swing through and then reforms basically back in your shadow behind you, and then the final scene part is where you kind of realize the mechanic that he has and are able to then anticipate and defeat him that way. And I remember I also got here, like, when you're doing kind of some like previs stuff, I put together like this, just really janky little animation here to show like to Andy. I was like, this is kind of what I want the characters to do, and how can we wire them up to do this? So like, just a quick scene of like them jumping back and forth like this to make the that part there, and then it becomes we then work into the wireframing here. So like this is some of the raw footage of, we basically got Dan Larson here wired up on the right side of the screen with the harness, and we basically shot that all tripoded, locked down. We then shot it, moved it over, then shot it with Danny. That's basically him jumping back really far. Same with Dan Larson here. And what we do from there is we combine those two together, and we also then basically get a blank slate like this one here, and it becomes this final shot of them two jumping together. And all this is just kind of stitched together. We basically rotoscope out their harnesses and everything from them, that you can kind of see like in here, like this part right in here is the harness pulling up and all that. So yeah, there was kind of a lot of that, of basically locking down the camera and then getting you guys to kind of do the stunts, getting a background plate, and then in post we just stitch everything out and stitch it together. So this shot here, Andy, I don't know if you can quite see it or anything, but the harnesses where we were pulling them basically from the ceiling to do like that big jump backwards. You want to talk a second about how we rigged that up and what kind of goes into making a jump like that?
Yeah, so basically, as you were saying, we have a pulley up on the ceiling. And in this case, we were doing all manual pulls. So out of frame is, I think there were two of us. They were pulling down on the rope to lift whoever the actor was at the time. The interesting part of this was trying to get the timing down with the actor on the pull and the landing. And that's where the value of the rehearsals come in, right? Like for each one of these, the basic one where we just pull them backwards a little bit, we had to figure out the starting points and the landing points because of the swing that you're going to get when you lift the actor off the ground and so forth. Those were fairly straightforward. It didn't take too long for us to figure out what that pull had to be. The one that was more interesting was the one where we were trying to get him to land on the sword. If I remember right.
Oh, yep.
Our first attempt was Danny was going to hold the sword out, and we were going to try to have Dan actually land on the sword. And we tried that a few times, and that proved to be just a little bit too difficult, and we were going to run out of time. So Dan, I think you came up with the idea of, hey, let's put a green screen on top of a cooler, and then we'll just have Dan. It was a lot easier for Dan to do the backflip and hit the cooler.
Oh, I think the green screen one was for here, where Dan Larson was like stabbing at Danny, and then Danny was like basically doing like a matrix backwards and supporting himself with his sword, but like there's no way the sword can actually support himself. Then the one for him landing on the sword was basically just we were trying to have Dan Larson do like a backflip, or I think it's called like a bicycle flip forward onto a cooler, to get that kind of like that height up, and then I would like kind of composite that together with where he was going. But let's see, I think I got that here somewhere.
Yeah, that one was fun because we had the spot of the landing became a lot more precise.
Yeah.
On those other pulls, exactly where Dan or Danny landed wasn't so critical. We just had to get the jump in. This one, there was a spot. You had to hit the spot.
Let's see.
While you're digging that up, the other part that was when we almost knocked Danny out.
That's still a great story, though.
Danny, you want to tell that story there of how you almost got knocked out?
I would absolutely love to tell the story. So it was it was a pullback, right, when I slid backwards, right? And we did it.
Was that part where after you get kicked in the face when he's on your sword and you go back
Yeah. And we did it, I think, a couple times, and we were getting the good distance of what we needed to. But the problem with it was that it was just like dust. It was just because like part of the floor hadn't been used for a while, so it was slick, basically. And so when Andy pulled on it, and we had a certain marks, and in my head I was doing a timing on it and everything, and once I went past the timing on it and I kept going, but not just going, but I was increasing speed and velocity with it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit the pulley system at this point. There's no way I'm gonna slow down for it. And part of Lynx's outfit is that he has like shoulder pads on, so I just smiled and I'm like, well, shit, here we go. Just tilted my head, threw the shoulder pads into it, and just smacked it and everything. I know you were sweating for a bit, but I was laughing. I thought it was great. Because of course everybody was safe and nobody was hurt and everything. But I think that was one of my favorite moments in doing stunt work and everything too. Just because I knew that, because there's, as an actor, when you're doing stunts, there's a moment when you know shit's just gonna go sideways, and you can kind of prep for it. And I'm sure, Andy, you've been there. And at this one, it was perfectly that situation where you're like, all right, this is just going to go bad. There's nothing you can do. Just, brace for it. So it could have been a lot worse than it actually was. So, but still great, though.
Yeah. And like you say, I was sweating a bit when I saw you hit the mat, and the mat just went sliding. It's like, no, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah. But, yeah, we got up, and it looked really good, though. It did. It looked believable, for sure. I was really, Because then we shot this. Was this overnight when we shot this?
This was yeah. So we shot this. Basically the whole fight scene was shot over two nights, and this was actually shot inside where Modest Brewing now is. And we actually got this space because the owners of Modest Brewing are actually big Zelda fans, and our location scout, Charlotte, she found this location, told her like, hey, we want to shoot like this Zelda fan film, and there was like, that's awesome, let's do it. So it was about, they had this basically just big empty open space that in I think 2 weeks after we filmed here, they were starting to do the renovations to make what is now Modest Brewing. So if you go there, it's looks completely different than what it looks like in here. But you can be like, oh, this is where this is filmed. But yeah, so I got Dan Larson here trying to do his backflip in the rig, and I remember there being a lot of times his feet and stuff would get caught, or he just go.
He would get super close.
He gets super close to what it is.
Super frustrated. And his mask, I don't think he could really see out of it either.
He couldn't see well the mask, so he did a bunch of practice
feel.
ones with it off, kind of right here, and then we're doing them on with the mask on, and some went a little farther than too far, but then some were rock solid. Like that one, and we just basically just keep doing a whole bunch of takes that then put together, and it kind of becomes, where is it here? You comp it in to become the last shot there. For, let's see where they do that shot.
It's funny, I've been in Modest a couple times since then, and I always look up at the ceiling trying to see if I can remember where I put the points.
See if the
You put the
same
rigging
same
yet?
spots are still there.
I should have tagged it.
Right?
Yeah, you should have. God, Andy.
Yeah, so that becomes, this here is flip up, and then I just kind of composited him onto where Danny's sword was. So, for this shot, I had just Danny go into the spot and just, like, stab forward a few different times at, like, a few different heights, too. Be like, I don't know exactly where I want him to be, so we'll just do a few different heights here and see whichever one works out. It's on, and then he gets kicked in the face and then flies backwards. I think this here was that pull that, your shoulder pad helped you.
Saved.
That saved you, that big slide there.
And we did that one a few times too.
Yeah, we did.
And I think that one where we went flying backwards was the let's go for it. Let's see how far we can get you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
We kind of build it up
Yeah.
to just like, how far can we pull Danny? Let's keep going.
And I tell you, and Dan had a moment when he was like, okay, is Danny good? All right, let's just see if we can recreate that.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going with that.
No,
And I would say, like, again, watching this and seeing the amount of work that went into it for the fight training with Bond, and then also Andy with your wire work, it's amazing what we pulled off in 2 nights of shooting from the different angles. And it's really cool to see you get good actors and good stunt performers together and know what they're doing and be able to come up with some really cool stuff in a limited amount of time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After hearing all this, I'm just glad I can now realize why you guys didn't have me on set for all of this, because I'd probably been having a heart attack the whole time.
Be freaking out.
Appreciate all the work that went into it, but just all the potential disasters you guys are talking about just freak me out. So
They're not really potential disasters. I mean, come on,
Okay. Almost getting knocked out, and
It's part of the job description.
There
It
you
comes
go.
with the territory.
Uh-huh.
Just saying.
How about that back bend, Danny? Jeez, it's a hell of a back bend in that one shot. With
that was
with the Dark Link sword just over your face.
Oh,
all you,
dude,
right?
that was not. Yeah. Oh, completely all me. No harness or anything, or just just yoga. That's what it was. I prepped with yoga for that. To
It
get
was
nice and limber.
Right here, just where we're like, and we're going to have Danny and kind of go back as far as you can. Do some other takes here with trying to actually prop on the sword. And then we
Right.
basically just went to some more of the close-ups or the ones here with the cooler and pillow and green screen that you would just fall back onto.
Yeah.
Stab forward and hit away.
Yeah, between wearing Lynx's costume and the wire rig, I remember how much sweat was coming off.
Oh,
It was
that
just fucking-
costume
It was cold. Yeah.
It's
because the
very
costume didn't
sweaty
breathe.
and hard to move, and I'm very impressed. I've worn it now for a couple conventions because it's so cool. But wearing that all day and moving around in it, that gets a lot. So actually doing a real fight scene in it is pretty ridiculous.
Well, and he was in the harness most of the time too.
Yeah, right.
The harness has to be under the costume, so you can't really just toss it on and take it off.
Which is even more fun when you have to go to the bathroom, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's all about trying to make the bathroom time between setups and everything. Because it takes a little bit of time to get the full costume off and then get the rigging off and everything.
No, yeah, that's and that's one thing too. I remember for us making sure that we basically each of the days, like we didn't do like all stunts one day and then, you know, some of the fights or the rigging the other day. We broke up the wire work both days and kind of did it first both days, just to give us some more time for those setups, because like we basically spent the first day, like, you know, the first couple hours just getting the wires all set and in place and practicing those moves there, those spots there, and then to have to reset those to a new location, you know, that takes another couple hours there. So it's best, you know, we broke those up to, instead of having to like take those down for it, we will then just go into some more close-up fight scenes, close facial shots, those type of things. So, and also then to not totally wear you out on the wire work there. Yeah. I'm gonna pull. So here, I want to kind of show one thing too. For this, I remember I wanted to incorporate as much of like some shots from Zelda that I could for this, and you know, especially in a bunch of like, you know, very minute things that like you wouldn't necessarily pick up if you weren't a Zelda fan, but if you were, you'd be like, oh, that's a cool little tidbit there. So like one of the things was like when Danny entered through the door into Dark Link space there, we had the camera angle set up in a similar fashion that happens when Link goes through a door that locks behind him in the actual game. So like, you know, basically goes like that in here, and then ours was right up there, it slams it behind him, and he looks behind just the same way. So like, I kind of like being able to incorporate just some of those kind of small little, almost like Easter egg tidbits into the film here. So yeah. Eric, you want to kind of talk a little bit more about the music process? Like, what did you guys do for trying to match some of that sound, and how did it work too with I think you were saying like, yeah, this might have been one of the first times I was very specific about certain note hits or cues to this film.
Yeah, well, at first we had talked about wanting the score to be more of the, I wouldn't say synthetic kind of sound, but we talked at length about, you know, Tron Legacy, and you explained the way that the visual effects were going to play a big role in the movie, you know, with especially the way the shield was going to look, and like it was going to be a very futuristic looking thing, and so that was a soundscape kind of, that was the path you kind of guided us on. We spent a lot of time messing with, we just took the theme and we changed it to play with a minor scale and minor chords, which, you know, for non-music people, you know, the Legend of Zelda theme is pretty happy and adventurous, and so it's kind of major tonalities, but when you switch it up to the minor sounds, it completely changes the way that it sounds, and it worked really well, and that's the chord progression you hear without the melody, as he's kind of going through, Danny, as he's going through the, you know, the alley and then kind of going into the bass, and it's kind of, you know, exploring and telling you that this isn't your average kind of Legend of Zelda type of video, but this was the very first movie where we had real specific feedback. Every time we would send something to Dan, he was like, no, it's great, like what you're doing is right and we're on the right path, but no, you have to stop it here, this is really important. And it was, the music needs to stop when Dark Link lands on the sword, it needs to stop when he gets kicked in the face, you know, it needs to start and stop, and it needs to continue again at certain moments. So he gets kicked in the face and he gets shot back. So the music needs to slow down there, and then it needs to build up, and then as soon as their swords reconnect again, that's when it needs to start again. And so Dan was great in terms of really guiding us. And I think last time we talked about, you know, like making the music align vertically with what's going on in the scene. And this was the first project that really we kind of realized how important that was. So that was really helpful. The other thing is we only used certain notes from the actual Legend of Zelda melody. So you have bum 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 ba da 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 dum. Those are the only ones we actually used. We didn't keep going. And so my favorite music is actually the final battle scene, and it just takes the descending fourth with bum bum, and then it keeps building on that as the bass line progresses up, and then it starts over again. It's almost kind of like a shepherd tone, if anyone knows what that is.
What is a shepherd tone?
So if anyone's played Mario 64, the infinite staircase, where the music just always sounds like it continues going up.
Yeah.
Dunkirk is the one that did it most recently, and basically it just constantly sounds like the music is going up, and the tension keeps on increasing and going and going. So what we did is, as the music's going up, we would start the pattern over again, but add an octave on top, so it felt like it continued going up the scale. And so it's not a real shepherd tone, but that was kind of, without knowing what it was at the time, the idea between the final battle between Danny and Dan, right? And it just kind of kept going up and up and up, and then it just offset and cuts off at the end. So that was our process. This is like one of the more favorite soundtracks from ours. When I was talking with Isaac about this, he really enjoyed working on the project, but he said he thought it was the Ganondorf dialogue is really interesting because it's kind of a accidental allegory on today. The world around us. You use the word exigency. Men giving up their freedoms, but then also everyone being happy with their cozy little prisons of their own design. But not all men are like that. So he thought that was. He thought that if you take something like what you guys were doing in Link, and it applies outside of its own realm, that's real art. So I wanted to throw that in there too, because I thought that was a really good point on his part. But,
yeah. So and the idea for this short film came around. It was actually a web comic that I saw by Zach Gorman. And kind of had it was probably about half of the Ganondorf dialogue that's in our short film was kind of in that, and was showing like Ganondorf talking about this is why evil triumphs and good men don't, and so forth. And I kind of liked that kind of nice back and forth that it had, and I was wanting to just incorporate that into a sci-fi Zelda setting with then Danny and like a Link and a Dark Link fight. So yeah, that's where that kind of came about for the initial idea, and then I actually remember the very first shot that I made for this was that opening shot of the cityscape, and that was when I kind of was figuring out what I wanted to do with this. And I was like, if I was supposed to, if Ganondorf's castle was more modern day, what would it look like? I'd be like, well, it'd be a giant skyscraper with those smoke rings going around it, and I made this on a layover from we were flying back from Colombia from a shoot, and we had like a 10-hour layover in Miami, and I had no idea what to do, so I just pulled out my laptop and started slowly kind of making this scene here, and then I was like, okay, this is actually would be kind of cool. Let's try to make some more ideas for what Zelda would look like in a sci-fi world, and that's where it kind of then grew from there. Danny, do you want to kind of talk about what is your kind of process with working with both the stunts, but then having to incorporate, your acting into that, like what kind of things are you focusing on for your characters when you're having to, you're coming up with the character you're portraying, but then you still have to be conscious of these stunts here. What's kind of your process for that?
Yeah, the biggest thing coming across as an actor when you're doing stunts or any kind of fight work and whatnot is always to look at it is that any kind of sequence is an extension of what the character is trying to come across or what narrative he's trying to portray. So that's the biggest thing, because you see a lot of actors, if they get put into a fight scene, they're not comfortable with fighting, or you don't have a good fight choreographer or a good stunt coordinator, it's going to look awkward, clumsy, and then they're just going to be really kind of pulled out of their character, what they're trying to portray. So the rule number one with me is that if it gets too complicated into a sequence on it, that simple is a little bit better. It's always more effective that way. So I try to look at it. Once you actually get the fight work down, or even the stunt work, it's like dance. There's a rhythm, there's a feel to it. You have to embrace it. And then applying your character and where your character is at and what your character's movement in the scene, by that is kind of like the emotional response he's or the character is trying to get out of it. And for me, it's I've been fortunate just because it's always been kind of natural for me. I've been a really athletic guy my whole life and whatnot. So for doing roles like that, I find them much more intriguing because, again, if you could find a good choreographer or some personnel, it becomes like it's a very like a well choreographed dance. It can be really pretty. The fight scenes themselves can tell so much more than what even a character could be delivering in dialogue with that as well. And yeah, and it, like, if you're working with a good team, it just becomes a lot of fun with that. So, and the biggest thing is just not to complicate it and not to overthink it, and just remember it just becomes an extension of the character. To trust your personnel that who's working with, even if you get a situation where you could potentially knock your head on a pulley system or anything like that. But I definitely have those other stories where like stunts have gone wrong and everything. But I would say that's more the simplistic. So when I work with actors and I train them into kind of simplistic fighting techniques, I definitely begin to make sure they understand why they're doing it. Because a lot of actors may just like, okay, my character's supposed to fight, but I don't really know why they're fighting, what the purpose is, what they're trying to get across. Then you get to the much more details of like their fighting styles. Are they capable? Are they more dominant? Are they passive, defensive, that sort of thing. So just little gist of kind of what goes in the head in the process work.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny.
But one thing I was going to...
Hey, Danny, what's it like to be athletic here?
What's it like to be athletic my whole life? Enjoyable. I think you're trying to take that's a good take. I dig that, man. That's good. But the thing I was going to bring up... it's not bad. Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, dance like American Ninja over here, man. So, but the makeup on this, by the way, like Charles Hubble, like the whole makeup artist, like that was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And everything. So I still can't believe we got fifth on this, by the way. I'm still, years later, I'm still salty about it.
Yeah, Charles was amazing to work with for this, and he was I think the perfect role for this, and he was great. Yeah, it was fun working with him too. He comes in, we filmed his scenes. It was downtown, this place called like Windows over Minneapolis. It's in the credits somewhere. I forgot, but basically they got these kind of an event space, but it has these giant tall windows just looking over Minneapolis. And I was like, oh, that'd be the kind of the perfect just over, spot to look over the city. Just the bad guy looking out over his dominion and giving his monologue. Yeah, I kind of gave the makeup artist my idea for what Ganondorf looks like. He's got the big old orange beard and giant bushy eyebrows and things like that. And I was like, well, we're gonna do that, but put him in a suit and have all of that. So like kind of in person, it was definitely a exaggeration of the beard and everything like that. But his performance was able to kind of definitely pull off just the exuberance of it. I remember kind of talking with him too about the role, like to kind of Ganondorf in this. I kind of viewed him more as like a kind of like Magneto in X-Men. Like, you know, he's the bad guy, but like he views what he's doing is what's best, and for him taking over Hyrule and, like, you know, it going under his control is his worldview of what is actually best. I think that's what makes, in their mind, they're the hero. They're saving people, or saving, you know, at least the best interests of their people and everything like that. So I always thought that that's a kind of a good takeaway for when developing different characters and heroes, like, or villains. Like, give the villains motivations that in their mind make them seem like they're doing what's right.
And they're more fun to watch.
Exactly.
They're more engaging, you know? So, yeah.
And then especially if you can add in some more ambiguity, and then you're like, all right, who actually am I rooting for sometimes? And there's a lot of, you know, great films with that. You know, ones like this, you know, a little more straightforward. Like, all right, you know, Ganondorf, obviously the bad guy, what he's doing is not the greatest, but give him that kind of worldview of what he is doing is actually best overall. And then Rachel for Zelda was fantastic as well, and we'll see her at the end of this in Clubhouse as well. That symbol right there, our little teaser, that is the Zora symbol from Zelda. That kind of they were the kind of water people, which then in Link fights Dark Link in the water temple in the Ocarina of Time. So, like, that sign there, another thing for the Zelda fans, the ones who kind of know it, be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then, like, it doesn't take away at all from anyone who doesn't know. It's like, okay, that's just a symbol that he's looking for what gets him to his next location and all that. And then holographic Navi. That Danny, I remember you were very happy to be shushing her.
Oh, you have no idea.
He is.
Well, I think the thing I really like about this Link character is that he's a dick. He's just grumpy, in a bad mood. And that's what I really wanted to come across. Like, he's just like your anti-hero who doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to go through this, and have to battle this. Because all the other Links, I think up until then, were really kind of shiny sparkles. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? Sort of, maybe. When I was looking into it, and I was like, the whole dystopian, like, dark vibe, I thought this was a great, and he's looking rough, you know, he's got scars, you know, it makes it more realistic, and I think that's also compliments to a lot of the different fighting styles that the Dark Link presents with Link in general, you know. I think that definitely shows a difference between the light and the dark aspect with that. Yeah,
exactly. No, and I remember talking about that too. I was like, you're the hero who does not want to be the hero. You're doing it because you pretty much have to. And
nobody else is going to.
No one else is going to, so you're like, crap, this is my job. I pretty much have to do this just to save Hyrule.
And don't you actually make a cameo in this though, Dan?
Yeah, I am in this shot here, actually, the homeless guy with the boombox, which you can hear a very, very tiny small glimpse of the Song of Storms, and like it's actually in this scene. It's just raining, only on me. So that's another little part. Yeah, that's a character I like in the game too. That's he plays. He's got the big old music. Tuba music box thing all around him and playing the Song of Storms all happily and all that. And so in this one I was like, let's just make him like a, you know, homeless guy in the alley listening to his boombox with the Song of Storms playing. So little tidbits.
Yeah, I think you emailed us like, hey, can you send me those 3 notes? And then you just repeat it a couple times so you can include it in there. Yeah, super funny.
Yep, I was like, yeah, here's this. Can you somehow add this in again? But yeah, so this film here was like the 2016 Z Fest, and we actually there was a bit of a backlash with it because
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Yeah,
It
local claim to
was-
fame of this film.
what's that?
It is.
Damon?
It's the local claim to fame for this film on kind of what we did to Z Fest.
Yeah, right. We basically we got some
Change the
rules
rules.
changed at Z Fest because it was a fan film, and there was I guess some complaints about that, being that we were, utilizing some other stories, I guess, or like a piece that it wasn't 100% original. So
Right. A lot of people got butthurt over it. I do remember that. They did.
Especially when we made made fifth, made the top 10 of it. That's I think when we got a lot of the flack is winning any awards.
Oh, that's right. They wanted us to be completely disqualified from winning any awards or any kind of ranks on it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So that's when they made the rule that fan films can be shown at Z Fest. They're just not eligible for any of the awards.
Just too
No,
good.
I
They were
thought
scared.
it was
They were scared.
they're eligible for awards. They're just not eligible anymore for monetary prizes.
Right. Yeah. The monetary.
So that was the thing because if you make top 10, like there's different prizes, and then they're like, we can't give money for fan film type things, and then we had to like try to fight back, being like, well, what falls under like parody laws and like parodies, I guess
Fair use.
What's fair use, what's different enough that for all that. But yeah, no, it was pretty.
Did any actual like Zelda fans actually see this film? Dan, did it show anywhere? Did the show film like shows somewhere else?
I mean, so like this, we got this shown at
There's like a redeeming part of the
Dragon
story.
Con, and I think it got posted to like some like Zelda Informer site afterwards, and for the most part got pretty good feedback. There was, with any sort of fan film, you're always going to get backlash and naysayers because it's not exactly how they want it. Like there was ones like Zelda should never be in the future. Like that's not how Zelda's fantasy. Like there's no sci-fi for it, which is funny because we made this before the most recent Zelda, which is very much more kind of sci-fi and has a lot more of those elements to it.
I remember we were chatting about that, Dan. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And we're like, they're doing it now. Like, they're getting there. Other ones were like, why isn't Zelda blonde? Or why isn't Link blonde? Like, that's... What? I'm like, does he need to be always? Like... So, it's just funny. Some people's...
People love their
He
character.
doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't. Like...
No. He just needs to look emo.
Yeah,
That's it.
right?
There you go.
It's
That's
the future.
really-
He can be
just needs to
emo
look
and stuff
emo.
like that. I actually have here. We got for ZFest they send out the reviews from some of the judges and all that, and there's also peer reviews. I pulled up the email with it. This one always tickled me. This is a peer review. Watching this film at ZFest actually offended me. I expect original ideas from original filmmakers. Even if you have the rights to make a film about characters you did not create, doesn't mean you should. After Effects tutorials and tiki torches don't make a film, they just fill up 7 minutes. Sorry, this feels like a cheap film.
Thank you, Karen.
That tickles me.
Thank you, Karen, for that. Thank you, Karen. So much for that. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Yep. No comment.
Yeah.
I would just
No comment.
blame Dan for this one. Just let us astray. Jeez.
But there's other ones where like, oh, flawless design. It definitely brings the adventures of Link to brand new light. The modernization of it all was completely flawless. Looking forward to seeing more of your films. Like, so you get both. You get both worlds from things like this. But yeah, so anyone else got any more comments about Link? I guess before we move on to the next film. Or has there been any questions? Damon, have you seen any questions or from anyone? Yeah, if anyone has any questions you want to answer,
I've been looking out for questions. No
please,
specific question. Yeah.
We can always show them there.
Yep. Yeah. The I think the only one kind of pertaining was just where can you see the film, and we can see all these films on the Outer Rim Productions YouTube page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I do want to show first. Actually, it was funny going back through some of this footage and rewatching Link again, because when we were talking about doing this live stream, I was like, okay, I probably should know what scene to talk about. And I'm like watching some of these scenes, and like even for me, I was like, wait, how did I do that? Like I'd forgotten how some of these effects were, and this was actually one where when Dark Link is in front of Link and then materializes behind him. I couldn't quite remember how we did that, and then I found the shot here where we start with the camera is on a tripod on the ground with the gimbal set up, and I get just Dan into the spots first, and then get Danny into his spot, and then I just would move Dan Larson to the side to where he would be. We'd go action. Danny slices through, and then Dan starts fighting him, and then from there is when we start moving the camera. But so before that, basically what we do is then I take that shot of Dan there, or Dan Larson there, cut that out, and then did like the dissipating effect, and then fade him, dissipate him back into where he was, and the camera would start moving from there. So a lot of this is just kind of rotoscoping, which is basically just you're drawing and cutting out the individual parts of a frame you want. And then was kind of motion tracking some of it in to where it was. So that's kind of how we did the swiping, slicing through where Dan Larson and stuff was from. Yeah. One last thing I want to show too is some of the pictures here for Dark Link's eyes. In here, he's got those kind of menacing red eyes like that. But on the set, basically what we did, that's, obviously in post-production there, I just had two little red LEDs where his eyes were, and it's just kind of funny if you can see the picture here. He looks very like non-intimidating with just those tiny little red dots there. Just looks like very, very dinky, but it was the best way I thought to kind of track where those were going to be, because especially with how dark we were shooting it, like I couldn't just put like tape there or to then mask out later. Like I needed something to actually light up. Otherwise, it'd probably just be lost in the darkness of what the film was, and then be really hard to track and put those on to there. But yeah, Dark Link with without the big red glowy eyes is nowhere near as intimidating. So, yeah, we can move on here to our next film. So next one up is Jive Tales. Jive Tales we made in 2014 for the 48, right, Damian?
Yeah, it was was this our first one? No.
This
Was it?
This was our first 48 together. Yep.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
Yep. Because we had done basically Windage right before this, and then this was the first 48 that we did. And so this one here, Damien, do you remember? Do you have like the genre and
Let's see here.
what it was going to do for this? I think we drew period piece, and that's when in the writing room we decided to go with like 70s type theme. And then we kind of really fashioned it around. We were like, well, let's do some like 70s kind of, kung fu or like 70s, cop and style, just smash cuts or smash zooms for some fight scenes and like that. Following along like kind of a lot with what's the movie? Black Dynamite. It kind of parodies that similar style as well too. So we were kind of going in that similar vein. You got those? What our things were there, Damien?
Unfortunately for this one, I pulled the wrong movie, so hopefully by the end of us showing it, I can let you know what they are.
Not a problem. So, here we go with Jive Tales.
He'd really like you to tell him a story. You're his grandpa.
I don't have any good stories. You know, I didn't have the most exciting life.
Dad, you'll do fine. He loves you.
Grandpa, what do you do for work?
Grandpa is retired.
Well, what did you do before you got old?
I was a building inspector for the government.
You're a government agent?
Yeah. Grandpa was a government agent.
Did you inspect buildings for bad guys?
I inspected them for structural integrity and safety, and make sure they were up to code. Grandpa had a lot of responsibility. Well, there was this one time Grandpa was inspecting a building.
Hello? Strays Dieterman. I'm here from the inspection.
What were they carrying?
Well, it appeared these men were carrying stolen goods.
That's some good stuff.
Like candy?
Yes, like candy.
Oh yeah, this is the stuff. You done good, kid.
We're gonna make so much bread off of this.
No, you're not, fools. Who's this jive turkey?
What's a jive turkey?
Never mind. Just let Grandpa tell the story.
Hey, Crimson and Clover, you picked the wrong building to inspect.
Were they ray guns?
No, they were normal guns.
I like ray guns better, Grandpa.
No, you know what? There were no guns. And we we got into a good old-fashioned fist fight.
Hey, sucker. Don't touch the stash. I asked you not to do that.
That's the way we did it in those days. One of them came at me, and I bashed him over the head.
With a Lego bat?
Yeah, with a Lego bat.
God! What?
Things were looking pretty hairy for Grandpa.
But then Mommy came in to help.
Well, sure. Mommy was there. Well, remember, she was a lot younger than that.
All right, kid. Let's boogie.
That is so cool. You had the coolest job ever, Grandpa.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Grandpa,
Yeah?
thanks.
You know what, Timmy? Thank you.
Alright, so there was Jive Tales. Classic, Alton says. Yeah, pretty fun one. So that one there.
It's pretty amazing that we got a De Niro lookalike
Right.
for that.
Sure.
And you got to play the younger self of the De Niro look-alike.
I was honored, yes,
Yep.
very much.
Yeah, so that one we drew period piece. The character's name was Sneederman. A bell?
Inspector.
Yeah, he was an inspector.
Yeah, Inspector, yes.
I remember now the line was, "I asked you not to do that." Yeah, once I heard Danny say that, I was like, "Oh, yep, that was the line." That's a
Yep.
that's a 48 line. Right
very
there.
very isolated, and just
Yeah.
like push that in there. Yeah.
Right.
Right. I thoroughly enjoy how apparently my voice progressed more like black exploitation through the course of the film.
Right. For that film there, you can see here we got Danny makeuped up with a nice 70s mustache and some nice 70s hair. So some backstory on that. Danny did not have a mustache at the time, and Danny was also very clean shaven on the chest.
Very clean shaven.
Very clean shaven.
Not a lot of hair.
chest.
Not a lot of hair.
And when we get to location there, and you get in the costume, and I'm kind of reading over the script, and I'm like, oh, we need some like Burt Reynolds chest hair. And I remember I go up to Hannah, our makeup artist, and she. I was like, what do we have for hair stuff? And she's like, no, we don't really have anything. And then like I'm thinking there for a second, and I'm like, okay, hear me out. You can definitely tell me no if this is too weird or whatever. But what if we cut off some of my beard and use that? And she was like, yeah, real hair is what's best. Is that's what's good to use. And so I was like, okay, cool. And then so I go up to Danny. I'm like, Danny, how do you feel about my beard being put onto your chest and face? And you were just like, yeah, let's do it.
I was like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yes. It's like, all right, cool. Let's do it. So yeah, so she shaved off, or she cut off like 2 inches or so of my beard. Basically got me pretty close to shaven. Clean shaven almost. And yeah, we basically just glued that on to your chest and face, and yeah, this is the
it was the
end result.
The sporadic chest hair. That it was.
Yeah.
The sporadic chest hair. Yes.
So yeah, that is definitely I think my most favorite part of this film is just that, just like, God damn it.
This is our second film, right, Dan?
Yeah, so this is our second
film.
one to get. Yep.
Man, we really bonded. I mean, having literally your DNA on my chest.
We're like, okay, yeah, I made you run through some like snow and stuff last time. I'm just gonna shave off part of myself, and we're just gonna glue it to you. Is that cool? Is that you cool with that?
I think in telling it in the site, it's so funny because when I had to take it off, it was ripping skin off from the glue as well. So I remember pulling in, and you're laughing because you could see my chest skin being pulled at the same time. But that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was great.
Can you be careful next time you phrase that? Yeah, I had your DNA on my chest, Dan.
No.
You see how I did that? I did that? Yeah. Okay.
And yes, for the comments, beard hair. I did not have back then there too any hair on top of my head to spare. So it was all beard hair that you see there on Danny. Yeah. No. No, that was definitely a pretty fun one. Yeah.
So we got a question, which Benny Bennett, Alton Bennett, sound design. Did we originally draw a silent film for this one? So yes, we did. We originally drew that one, and knowing our sound capabilities, we were very much against going silent film. But then, of course, we drew period piece, and I think we were equally as devastated, if I recall right. When?
Oh, I think we lost Andy here for a second. Hope he'll rejoin us here. But
that's okay. I'm showing up as Damian. I'll answer all of his questions from here on out.
And I'm both Eric and Damian.
I am Andy. I am Andy now.
Oh, you guys did move all. Yeah, everyone moved around now. Oh well. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get him back in here in a second. But yeah, I think we did draw a silent film. There we go. There's Andy. But yeah, we wanted to actually utilize Alton, and because you did the sound design on this. What else about this film? We filmed at I think Alton was working or knew someone at that. It was a limo rental place.
Yeah, Alton was working there at the time.
Yeah, and so that was the garage that we were in. Just moved all the limos outside for that. And then that bedroom scene was basically my bedroom at the house I was living at the time. It was like, let's just add some Legos and toys, and it's close enough.
There we go. Yeah,
good enough.
And I think the actually choreographing the fights in general it was probably one of the simplistic fights, just because of kind of like tipping the hat to like the 1970s and crash zooms on it and over the top. And I remember when I was doing the whole whoa, you kept on saying bigger, Danny, bigger, louder, go for it. Yeah. So, that was fun because like definitely during that era of the 1970s, I most certainly loved, and especially the over the top fighting compositions that they actually do with that. So that was a lot of fun from that standpoint.
Yeah, and it was actually, I can see why I did it. It was actually pretty easy to kind of piece together because we were very much just like, I was just taking shots of, all right, I'm going to do a kind of a close up here, and you're just going to hit it, and I'm going to zoom in while you hit it, and then do that here, and then I zoom in as you're hitting here, and then as you're hitting there, I just a quick pan up to your face as you're going wah, and it just kind of portrays that energy without actually any real fight going on. Like it's just like all you need to do is be able to throw a punch once, and then we cut it together with a bunch of other ones, and we're able to get you and Lizzie there to just easily put together a pretty quick and efficient 70s fight scene. Eric, what do you remember about the music for this?
Well, I can tell you that I didn't do any of the music for this. This was all the other half of the team. This was all Isaac.
Oh, was it just Isaac on this one? Were you gone?
Yeah. This was just Isaac. He had some help from another friend. But one of the things that is really great about this one, I think it's like the very first time you see Danny pop on screen. There's this little like electric guitar jazz riff that's just like super obnoxious, and it's just perfect. And so using like that whole like electric jazz kind of sound, he said the fight scenes were really fun to do. You have that steady, electric bass line going. He's got the bongo over the top. And then he said it was really fun to do the trumpet falls over every single pow. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it sounds like. Yeah.
And it totally had like that Batman TV show from the 60s vibe to it with that. I definitely,
Yeah, it's not easy to write comedic music. Like it's super hard for it not to come across really campy. But when you can write music that plays into the joke as much as possible, so using that 70s Batman, the jazz kind of sound is what really made that music actually fit so much better than what other ideas were coming at the time. So he did a great job on that. So that's the music notes that we got.
So yeah, the only story that I have on this one is I just remember absolutely hating the idea of doing the candy cutaway to replace the drugs in the kids' version of the story.
Oh yeah.
I just remember fighting that. Everyone, I think I may have been the only one who actually absolutely hated that idea. I think the audience reaction was actually went pretty well on this one, but I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts after rewatching it so many years later? I don't know. I still think it's so cheesy. And I don't know.
And that was definitely half the point.
It is half the point. I mean, it's supposed to be cheesy.
We're going for that cheesy 70s period look to it.
I mean, come on! I delivered a line. Don't touch the stash. I mean,
yeah, and then you comb your stash after getting.
And I
punched
comb it. Yeah. Don't touch the stash. Like
giant ball of cheese puffs.
Well, yeah, and then we're mixing it with the Princess Bride type grandpa kid story with the kid intermixing his own ideas, and grandpa just be like, yeah, that's fine. Like, yeah, we'll go with that for the story.
At least we tried to find candy from the era, or at least candy that would have been around in that era.
Did we? I don't actually remember if you did that.
I think we tried to.
Yeah. Okay.
We tried to focus on that.
It's funny that we put that much attention to that little detail.
But I do love the end credits though. I forgot about how good the end credits.
Oh
really
yeah,
were,
very
though.
vibe fitting.
I love the ray gun bit, and then cutting.
So do
back,
I. I think that's a great one. Yeah.
I thought the ray gun bit, and then cutting back to it a second time for sure. Brilliant.
Yeah, like no, we'll keep ray guns. And he's like, no, we're just not gonna have guns. We're gonna do fight scenes. One of my wife's favorite lines here is this one.
And I bashed him over the head.
With a Lego bat?
Yeah, with a Lego bat.
With a Lego bat, like we bash him over the head with a Lego bat. Like what? Why? What is a Lego bat, and why is that a thing? But yeah,
absolutely
it works.
Nothing.
All I know
but
is,
in little kid,
To
totally
a
makes
little
sense.
kid, it totally
I
makes
recently
sense.
showed this movie to my kids, and my son, who absolutely loved Legos, went crazy over that scene. So
Oh yeah,
it plays well, I
it
guess.
plays well to the kids there then.
We did get a question from Ryan Gilmer asking, didn't it win audience favorite? I think it did for our screening group, if I remember right.
Might have,
I think
yeah.
that was part of our run of winning audience favorite there for a while.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
question.
So,
Great question.
I guess any other thoughts about this film? We got one of the coolest, actually, trophies from this one.
After that, I just want one more shot of Danny and chest hair. Just
They
one
made
more.
these like giant like wood ones that
Oh, yeah.
year that we got, which is actually pretty cool. But it is huge.
Maybe at some point you'll see me again with like overly sporadic chest hair for you. I could do another film.
Yours or from Dan?
That's all I'm actually writing now. It's just all the scenes I've written is enter Danny, chest hair.
Chest hair.
Full.
Focus on chest hair.
Focus on chest hair. Long take chest hair. So, alright. So then our last film of the night here is The Clubhouse, which then, we all worked on here. Andy, this was the first time we worked on a film where I was directing it. And, Damian, do you want to...
Yep, I actually have the details. For
You
this
got the
one.
details for this one? Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Yeah,
Stop!
officially.
Really good job, man. All right.
Yeah, everybody gets one, right?
Everybody
All right.
gets one.
So this was made for the 48-hour film festival in 2015. We drew inspirational film. The character was either Kevin or Kelly Whitefish, who's a club president. Our prop was a coat hanger. The line of dialogue is, "You choose, I can't decide," or "I cannot decide." And for this one, we ended up placing in the top 10. We won an audience favorite for our screening group, best special effects, best costumes, which we'll talk about later.
Wow, we won
And,
best costume?
correct me if I'm wrong. I think for the North Dakota Film Festival, we also submitted this one for that. We won best family film, or best family short film, something like that.
Dan needs
I
to
know
check
you have the
all
award
of his
there.
awards. All of his
Yeah.
awards.
Yep,
he's
best
got.
family short. Yeah, we won.
Yep. Yep.
Oh yeah, South Dakota Film Festival. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
And I'll just say this one tends to be, I think, of people that I've talked to about our short films, one of the favorites. From
Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely a pretty fun one. Very, kind of a interesting story of the kids, but then their adult versions that come about from their fantasy. A lot of our we kind of had basically 2 years in a row of like, let's just go with like kind of kids' imaginations for different stuff going on, and kind of had a little running theme for some of our 48s with that, I guess. Imaginations running wild. But yeah, so here is the Clubhouse.
you guys doing up there?
But we're playing D&D.
What's that?
Dungeons and Dragons? Shut up, Colin.
Can I play?
No.
Why not? Oh, are you afraid you'll get beat by a girl?
Well, girls can't play D&D. Plus, you don't even have a costume.
Yeah, you need a costume to play.
Plus a weapon.
Stop screaming.
Attack! Ah, you got me! Dang it!
Hey, boys!
What are you supposed to be?
A warrior princess.
What's the warrior princess's name?
Sam?
No. See, I'm Kevin Whitefish, club president, and also Kiergord, the Dark Wizard Lord.
And I'm Forkbeard, the Viking warrior.
Shut up, Colin.
Well, I'm Marundo, the warrior princess.
Come on, guys. She's a girl. She has no place here. Girls don't have any battle strategies. Okay, so you want to play? You think you're worthy to play?
With us?
I do.
Then we challenge you to a duel.
I accept.
Forkbeard, attack! Wield your axe against this outsider. Whoa, natural 20? Well, that was just beginner's luck! Captain Bones, Shadow Scorpion, attack! Crush this peasant with your blade!
Should we slice her, dice her, or run her through? You choose. I can't decide.
Can't beat both of you, but I can bribe one of you.
I'll have to do it myself! Give up now! You cannot win!
Not. But I will yield to no one!
You'll win! You'll never be as powerful as us! You will never be an equal! Why are you doing this? You'll kill us both!
I am not letting go! If I go, you're going down with me! As equals!
Boys, want to get some ice cream?
Yeah! Yes! Ice cream!
that was some pretty good battle strategies you have there. You want to go get some ice cream with us? And maybe we can play later?
There's Clubhouse. Here's actually one of my favorite parts of the film coming up here.
So what did you kids do today?
I beat up some boys.
I made a firestorm.
Huh.
I'm Forkbeard the Viking.
Shut up, Colin.
All right. So yeah, there's the Clubhouse. That ending scene, I think we thought up the day of. Like, that wasn't like in our script. Like, I think we were basically at lunch, and then you guys were all in your costumes, and I told you guys, hey, just jump into the van here. Here's some ice cream. I think you guys went and got ice cream. Like, just go get ice cream, then drive around and act like you guys just got ice cream, but as you're,
as little kids.
As little kids.
It's pretty simple direction.
Yeah, I think I got uncredited second unit director on that one. I ran out and grabbed the ice cream and attempted to get the van moving while everything else was going on that one.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly difficult to do with the amount of space in the van. Poor Jasper, who was supposed to be in the shot, ended up not being in there.
Oh, yeah, he's basically
he's tucked behind one of the seats.
Yeah, and like we didn't really know the camera angle that well because it basically was just on the dashboard, pointing that way. I was like, we'll just mount this here. Should get everyone, and then he's just hidden the entire time. They're like, oh, where's the ninja? I'm like, well, he's in there. He's a ninja though, so like.
Yeah,
obviously
that's
he's
it. Like, you're not gonna see him.
Yeah, you're gonna see him. Duh. Like,
if you see him, he's not really being a ninja.
Yeah, right. Like,
it beats the purpose.
He's
But yeah, he got ice cream. So.
He did get ice cream out of it though. So, yeah, no, this one was definitely a fun one to make.
I think stressful as well.
A little stressful. It was definitely quite actually a few effects to pull off in 48 hours. You know, making a giant fireball and storm clouds and all that. I was kind of like, I'm pretty sure I can do that. And then just doing it like, oh god, like, okay, this is coming up close here. Damon, was that the one that we got in with about 17 seconds to spare?
Yeah, I want to say, that's the one where you and I drove together and we're flying down. Yeah, I think that was the one.
No, I also remember in the writing room, and you're like, oh yeah, I can do fireballs. Oh yeah, that's too easy. I can do that. Yeah, I can do these special effects. Don't even stress about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Back in my head, I'm like,
I got this.
I don't know. Probably can do it. Figure it out as we go along. That's what we do half the time. So yeah, I'll figure it out as we go. Yeah, no, that one we turned in with pretty much like about a minute to spare.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember I was going like 90 to 100 down the road, and you flew out of the car.
Yep. Yeah, usually we're turning. Yeah. Damian goes by himself because I've been up for the whole 48 hours so far, and I don't want to do anything more. But that one, it was so close, and it was at a place downtown, and we weren't exactly sure how parking was going to be. So we basically just said, okay, we both got to go. We're just going to get up close, and I'll jump out and run in, and you can circle around, and if there's parking, great. But we don't know. We're not going to take that chance when we're already knowing with GPS, like, we're going to make it there at 7:30, basically.
Right.
And you went, about 100 miles an hour down the road.
Yeah, pretty much.
If we didn't get in on time, then what's really the point? So
true.
It's worth risking life and limb over.
Life and limb for the 48.
Yeah, right. Like
priorities.
Where's your dedication, people? Where's your dedication?
You're not dedicated to it.
Right. I want to make sure we talk about this story around getting the costumes. So I think between Danny and Dan, I think you guys have a good story to tell.
I'm gonna let Dan go with this. I'm gonna let you, Dan, lead into this.
Well, so this one, it's a Guthrie that
it was the Guthrie. It was the Guthrie. Yes,
they do this promotion with the 48 where you can rent any of the costumes that they have there for about I think it was $18. And we're like, okay, that's a pretty good deal. And with this, we needed a wizard's costume, some ninja stuff, pirate, a warrior princess, all these sorts of little things. Like, okay, we can go get there. $18 a costume. That's gonna be $100 maybe, or $50 about at 18 a pop for 5 different costumes is what we need. Okay, well, it ain't gonna be too bad. So I sent Danny and I think Ralph and Rachel. To just go to the costume place, and I said just pick out what you guys think will fit for your characters. Like I trust you guys. You'll find something good. And well then so Danny, you guys get there, pick out your stuff. What what goes down from there?
It was the ridiculous amount of what we were going to charge. And I don't remember how much it was. Dan, do you remember?
So basically what it was was...
Was it that much?
Mm-hmm.
Damian?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Wasn't it 500?
Yeah, I think it was about that. It was so it wasn't $18 per costume. It's $18 per piece. So her little crown piece, $18.
I thought
the bow, handcuff. The little handcuff, $18. Danny's full giant robe, $18. But then his hat, $18. So, and you guys I just given you my credit card to go and get the stuff, and because we were at location getting everything all the other stuff set up with the other shoots.
Yeah,
and
we were
you
doing
guys
the Clubhouse.
you couldn't get a hold of me, so you're just like, well, we'll get it and we'll see whatever.
Well, yeah, we're gonna see how this goes.
Yeah, and so I remember you getting to set there. And you give me back my card, and I asked, okay, cool, how much was it? And you're like, it's 5 something, blah blah. And I was like,
and I walked away.
Yeah,
I let
Ralph
answer the question.
Funny. That's a good joke.
I'm like, I gotta get ready.
No,
I gotta work, people.
It really was that, and so I just kind of paused, thinking oh, okay, all right, well. It is what it is. It's already over. We gotta shoot this.
And it's funny because the wizard costume, because we were all excited, we were really excited about it because it's it was the theater rendition of Lord of the Rings, so it was Gandalf.
Oh no!
And we're like, oh, this would be perfect. We totally scored on this. $18 coming out. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I remember us. We were walking back 3 little kids who were in trouble, and we knew we were in trouble. So what do? I just pass the blame and run.
Right.
Just V-lined it. I'm like, Ralph, you're a responsible one. You can. Yeah,
Ralph and Rachel made me do this. I just got Gandalf.
I just remember Dan, a little bit afterwards, just brought me aside and said, "You know how much they spent on those costumes?" He told me the price, and I'm just freaking out, worried that Dan was gonna blow up and everything was going south. I'm like, that's how much I've spent overall on the production so far between the registration and food and all this stuff. We doubled it just for costumes.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Dan had a cell phone, which obviously they couldn't get a hold of. I had a cell phone. A ton of other people had cell phones. There were so many opportunities to get in touch with us. But no,
But they
made the
couldn't
call.
get a hold of you.
And we, they couldn't get a hold of Dan. But we won Best Costumes. And I remember the whole time we were in the screenings and waiting for the awards, Dan would just sit there all bitter, like, we better win Best Costumes. He was so pissed.
He totally did. He goes, God damn it, if we don't win Best Costume.
I paid $500 for this award. I better get it.
This is it, Danny. I'm never working with you again.
Yeah. No, that was no, it worked out though. It was fine.
So, I suppose we can talk a little bit about the stunts Andy did, but I also want to say how working in that field where all the stunts took place, the tick situation that all the actors had to deal with, and maybe even the
oh yeah, we definitely had to check ourselves
coordinator.
afterwards because that field there was very tall grass and a lot of ticks afterwards.
Oh, I remember that. I had 2 ticks in my beard.
Yeah,
I think you had more than 2.
Takes, well, yeah, I think it was probably like more like maybe like 20. Definitely it.
Was it your own beard, or did Dan provide the beard for you again?
Dan magically provided a white,
that big long,
luscious hair. Yes.
Yeah. So this one here, I wanted Andy to come on to help with some stunts. I was like, okay, we got these. Have a ninja, and we want to do like a little flip for them getting hit. And yeah, it was actually the ninja is actually your son Jasper, and I guess you want to talk a little bit how we kind of came about for that.
Yeah, actually Jasper is watching now, so
hey Jasper,
give him a shout out.
Hey Jasper.
Yeah, no, he was great in that. It was nice. It was good because I was like, hey, I need someone to do a flip, and I think you brought up, well, my son can do flips. Like, cool, he's our ninja. He's casted.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yep. 15 years in the circus and he gets a flip in a film.
Yep.
So yeah, I think again this spawned out of our work together on that corridor stuff, and then after that, hey, you want to help out with the 48? And the 48s are always interesting because you're like, hey, do you want to help out on the 48? We're going to do stunts. It's like, okay, but you don't know what they're going to be or where they're going to be, or I mean, you don't know anything about what's going to happen on the stunts. So you kind of got to be prepared for, okay, I'm going to grab the equipment. We're going to have to probably modify on set because I don't know where I'm going to be able to do rigging from if we got to do rigging. So luckily on this one, it was, we're going to be in a field and we're going to do some flips. Okay, I'll bring some mats.
Yeah, I remember contacting you about this first, and just being like, hey, we're going to do the 48. I want to do some stunts in it, but I don't know what stunts yet because we don't know what our script is or anything like that. But we'll figure some out, hopefully, and get something for it. And we were able to kind of ride around with that in this, knowing, hey, we could be able to do some falls, we could do some flips. I think he brought out, we had a trampoline out there, right, for one of his flips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He backflipped onto the mat.
Yeah, we borrowed a little mini trampoline. Especially for the 48, it's nice to know what equipment you have available.
Yeah, exactly.
And as long as when you guys you kind of know what the parameters are, you can kind of write stuff in, and I know I can help you get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one there. I can't remember which show that was, where you wanted to fly somebody and you had me do it in the garage.
That was the noise.
That was
we killed it, and we almost broke part of the garage.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost broke part of the garage. I had like 8 feet to work with. And it's like, well, I can get them about 6 inches off the ground for you.
Yeah. Like, and then, I don't think we really used much of it out of that one. Yeah, so this right here, this shot is Jasper flipping off a trampoline onto a mat, and then just in post-production adding that dust effect behind him. You can kind of see actually some of my very sloppy rotoscoping in these spots here, which you sometimes get in 48s, but when it plays at full speed, you don't really notice it as much. So yeah, that's kind of a... Okay, we had basically that one, and that's pretty much the only stunt, I guess, besides Ralph falling over. But you can do that just fine. Trip and fall.
This is probably my favorite shot. That scene right there, where
just the blood
the
over
pirate
him
looks
and
back
everything
at
like that.
Danny, and he's like, "Love that scene."
Yeah.
Yeah. I think out of all the films I've done with you, I think this is the least movement I've done for a character.
Right.
In these films, I barely moved as like a character in this.
The wizard, and all right, you basically stand back and you don't do much confrontation till she.
So he's being the producer, like Damian.
Yeah.
Uber.
Thank you.
Danny got his inspiration from Damian.
That's exactly what it was. I was just on set staring at him the whole time. I'm like, "You're it. I got it. That's the inspiration. You, all of you."
Glad I could help.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we got pretty lucky too. Not with our adult actors there, but our kid ones were pretty fantastic as well. With Lizzie Davis here, and Alex, and Marty. I think Marty and Gus, who were in Windage with us, and that's his younger brother. They did a fantastic job of quickly kind of portraying those their characters there without too much guidance from us.
For sure.
So yeah, that's kind
yeah,
of
and I wanted to note that I always have a fear about this film that pretty much maybe about a month and a half after the competition was over. So Jenna Davis right there, who plays our lead younger girl, she was on a national Disney commercial ad, and then all of a sudden kind of started blowing up on like the Disney Channel, showing up on some movies. And I know this summer she was supposed to tour like in a singing act, like be a person to I can't even remember what it's called, the first act. Yes. But I just have a feeling like she's gonna blow up and make it big, and I'll be like this footnote who miscredited her name in the short film.
Yeah.
Because if you notice in the credits, we still haven't changed it. It says Trishelle Davis, and that's her middle name, and apparently it's supposed to be Jenna Trishelle Davis, and I just completely whiffed on it and kept it in there like that. So I have a feeling that someday
it's gonna haunt
might
you.
be a footstone
it's going
in like
to haunt
a
you.
trivia. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, very much so.
It's gonna haunt you, Damian. Yeah, you done messed up, but.
And you have yet to correct my mess up.
Yeah,
so
I mean, on IMDb,
the posterity of it for all time is going to be.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, all right. If I ever re-upload it, I'll change that. But
no, all the kid actors were great, and that was.
They were.
I think that worked out incredibly well. Obviously, dealing with a 48-hour situation, it just even adds that much more stress. But having the incredibly well. And we're really easy to work with, maybe even more easier than the adult versions. So
I have no idea what you're talking about. I know it wasn't me.
The kid actors didn't cost us over half our budget on costumes.
I'm glad I'm the only one. There's like 2 other people that were there, and I'm just fairly.
I think one of my favorite shots from this is the transition from.
Oh yeah.
From the little from Jenna Davis to Rachel, when it kind of the camera goes around her back. And one of the things I did in this was all the scenes that were shot with the kids is in the aspect ratio of 16:9, and then when it goes to the adults, you can kind of see the aspect ratio dip in, and it goes more to a 2.35 to 1 ratio, which is kind of the more wider cinematic type look. So when they're in their adult selves, it's the more epic type cinematic looking, but then in their kid selves, it goes back to the just full screen HD look there, which kind of just a little fun tidbit. Yeah. Eric, what was music like for this one?
So this was pre-Link, I'm pretty sure, right? Year-wise. I think Link.
Yep, this was before Link.
Yeah, I talked about this last time too, and I keep using Link as like the transition. Andy's gone. It's a bummer. I keep using Link as the example of when our approach to music changed, and I use that for this one for more funny reasons, because these are some memorable memories or moments of rejected music from Dan. We both send him something like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he's just like, "No, that's not going to work." Writing music for the stuff at the beginning is really tough for like the kids, and so we had Isaac watched Tommy Boy, and I watched the Little Rascals, and so we came up with what we thought was like this really playful thing that it's still fun, but it was just terrible, which it's fine. I'm fine, guys, don't worry. But it was still back where we were still just kind of writing clips of music and then saying, hey, is this going to work for this moment, or is this going to work for this moment? And the Little Rascals music was rejected. Rightfully so. I don't know. They can't hear it. I think it's great, but that's just me. So that's what I remember back from that. But the other part is the fantasy epic fighting music. It was still kind of sent, and it would be, hey, Dan, what do you think of this idea? And he'd be like, yeah, that's the right direction, or this is close, and he'll send us like an audio file like, hey, it's close, but try something like this. And then we would say like, okay, how long do you need it to go for? And then he'd send us back. Whereas now in the projects that we do with Dan, he'll send us the cut, and he'll ask for updates every once in a while, and he'll give us feedback. But I definitely feel like now we have Dan's trust, where it's we all kind of know where everyone's kind of thinking and where everyone's head's at. Whereas before it's like we were constantly trying to get his permission before we continued working on something, if that makes sense. Otherwise, when we were working on that cue at the end, after when it cuts out of the fight scene and it's the two kids right after the big battle, he's like, "What do you want?" And he texted back. It's like, "Make music that's gonna tear their heart out." And we're like, "Okay, well that's not easy to do," and we did our best, but.
I need it to be inspirational. It's an inspirational film, so we gotta somehow tie it back to this being inspirational.
Yeah, Dan's got away with inspiring his cast. It's like, hey, use my hair, and things like that.
It's true.
Right. Oh man.
I don't know if you guys mentioned it while I was dropping and coming back, but one of the things that I saw behind the scenes that was fascinating to me was the little kids all gravitated towards their adult counterpart.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that. You definitely pointed that out for sure. And it was like very organic, wasn't it, Andy? right? With the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that it was just funny to watch. Like they'd be doing a scene and then they'd drop off and they'd kind of go wander off and find their adult counterpart.
Right, yeah. So yeah, we got some of the behind the scenes pictures here, kind of the mats that they were falling onto, and Ralph dying there with his axe. So you can see here, this is basically the other angle of the camera. We just put the axe on the other side of him, and then in post just added a whole bunch of blood to his garments there. Danny looking all epic in his wizard costume.
Mm.
But I got very sunburned from that as well too.
I'll tell you what though, I love the characters that we put Ralph in. By the way,
right.
Like little small parts.
He
does such an amazing job with them. I love it.
For those who don't know, Ralph, he's usually on like our writing team, so he helped write for this and for Jive Tales. But then we usually have like one or two like filler spots that we need like a last minute actor, and we're like, Ralph, we're adding you in. You're going to be good for this spot here. So we're like, we need a barbarian looking character. Ralph, you got a nice beard. You're the barbarian now.
Guess what?
Swing your axe and you'll die. Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. There's a question in the comments if we plan on doing the 48 in 9 days. If anyone is planning on doing that.
We are planning so far to do it, and we will. I know the one we're going to do in the next couple or in 9 days here, I think is when it is.
Yep.
It's going to be kind of interesting because we're very much trying to have as small of a crew as possible now, considering the situation going on. So it's kind of interesting just seeing like what things can we get by with, how small of a crew can we go with. And
have they sent out any kind of information about that yet with the new regulations for the 48?
It basically just says follow your particular state's guidelines around the situations going on.
So
being that here
so we're
in
very much
Minnesota,
trying to figure out what ways we can still be social distance. I actually just got a new Zyhoon wireless transmitter that will allow up to 3 devices to view the camera wirelessly. So I'm pretty excited to use that, so we can all kind of be spread out but still see what the camera's doing. But yeah, it'll be so we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately, Danny doesn't live in Minnesota anymore, so we won't be able to have him as our main actor this time.
I know. I wish I could. But we're start getting ready to roll in the other, in the film. But like I said, I've been hounding you, Dan.
I know.
You know I have.
Oh yeah.
For years now. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. Besides this, we're working on ideas for. We're looking to do a feature here at some point soon. So basically just scrounging up ideas for that, and then figuring out how we can actually make it be, and hopefully we'll be able to bring everyone who's on here right now into it as well, because that's the goal. We like making films with people we like, and all of you guys love having you on our films because you all bring something good and exciting to our films with your expertise, which is always amazing. So
you have to write an old guy falling off the building in that movie.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess does anyone have any other closing comments about any of the films today here? I think we had some pretty fun ones we did here. Hopefully we'll be able to make some more soon enough, and especially get some more stunts going. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it was great. I had a blast. So thank you for inviting me to this.
No
and everything
problem.
And catching up with everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Danny, for coming. Thank you, Andy, for coming, giving your expertise on what you guys do. Because, yeah, I think not a lot of people know what it takes to do some of these stunts behind the scenes of an actual film. And there's a lot that goes into it for what pays off to be usually a very, very quick shot. But
right.
They add up to great things. I feel I love them. So
I do. I think they're fun.
Yep.
Still to this day, some of the best work. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we've been going for quite a while here, guys. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank everyone for watching today. Hope you had some fun. Hope you learned some things too. And hopefully we'll see you on our next one we have. To watch some films with Outer Rim. All right. Thank you all guys for coming, and we will see you again soon.
Awesome. Good night.